Has COVID stressed your mental health? What about your friends, your siblings, your parents? But how many are actually dealing with it? This has been an insane year with countless uncertainties. I miss seeing you all and spending time together hanging out at Carrie. In today's lesson, we're going to tackle 3 different areas of your life you can target to care for your mental health in Bizarro 2020 coming up. What's going on? I'm Dominic, and Lighthouse is a youth ministry at Austin Chinese Church where we desire for every student to personally experience the light of Christ and for students to shine the light of Christ into your spheres of influence. In this video, we are in the second lesson on mental health and self-care in light of 2020, aka the year of COVID-19. I know that there are a bunch of you that aren't subscribed to the Lighthouse channel yet, so you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button right now, and our Friday and Sunday lessons, by the power of the YouTube algorithm, will appear in your feed. Last week, Katie and Eric kicked off our series on mental health and shared how Asian Americans can be greatly affected by mental health issues. This week, we will tackle our mental health in light of the pandemic, and after our Thanksgiving break, we will wrap up the series with 2 weeks of a closer look at how mental health and Asian Americans collide. You might be asking, why are we taking the time for a mental health series? Well, just like we know that taking care of our physical health is important and taking care of your spiritual health is important, it is also important to take care of our mental health. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, which means it affects how we think, feel, and act. Our mental health also helps us determine how we can handle stress in our lives, how we relate to others, and what choices we make. When we experience good mental health, it doesn't mean we are always in a good mood, and it doesn't prevent stresses of our life from coming our way. But it does help us cope with the stresses so that we can continue to engage productively. We have been in this pandemic for almost 9 months now, and I'm sure that quarantine has played a role in our mental health. This pandemic has caused major disruptions in everyone's lives and caused adjustments that have been needed, and this probably has caused significant anxiety and stress because of so many unknowns. For myself, I have struggled with the uncertainty of things going on, the altered daily routines, the social isolation, what the future holds, and the many changes that have occurred, and the lack of clarity. Quarantine has been difficult on many levels for me, and so I ask you, how has quarantine been treating you, and how is your mental health? COVID has affected mental health in many ways. Perhaps it's being isolated away from family and from friends, or fears of getting sick, or maybe there are concerns about financial insecurity in your parents' job, or the absence of a familiar routine. These are just a few of the ways where COVID can affect our mental health, and these can cause us to experience all sorts of things like low mood, irritability, hopelessness, rage, conflict, insomnia, anxiety, anger, emotional exhaustion, frustration, and boredom. Perhaps when you're feeling a slew of emotions, you're not always sure what to think, what to do, and where to turn. There may be times you feel embarrassed and even ashamed of your emotions and decide not to tell others or to even seek help and support. You may feel alone and unsure how to handle your mental health. Have you ever noticed in the Bible that God does not shy away from mental and emotional anguish? God is a God that not only understands every emotional feeling that we may have, but we can also turn to him with every thought and emotion. In the book of Job and Psalms, there are many times when they are lamenting and crying out to God in despair, like in Job 3:11 when Job cries out, "Why did I not die at birth, come out of the womb and pass away?" Geez, that's just morbid, isn't it? Or in Psalm 86 verses 1-7 when David cries out to God, "Incline your ear, O Lord, and answer me. For I am poor and needy. Preserve my life, for I am godly. Save your servant who trusts in you. You are my God. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for to you do I cry all the day. Gladden the soul of your servant, for to you, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. For you, O Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in steadfast love to all who call upon you. Give ear, O Lord, to my prayer. Listen to my plea for grace. In the day of my trouble, I call upon you, for you answer me. And then there's the entire book of the Bible called Lamentations, where the author centers on seeking forgiveness from God, dealing with suffering, pain, emotional turmoil, and seeking restoration with God. If all that weren't enough, we can be secure in knowing God knows what isolation, loneliness, disconnection, brokenness feels like, because Jesus went to the cross, experiencing the spiritual and mental and physical anguish of God the Father not answering his prayers and cries for another way to return his separated people back to him. And yet throughout Scripture, we see God's faithfulness. How God has provided for his people in the past, how he cares for us in the present, and how he promises to care for us even into the future. Even though we have the assuredness that God is faithful, that he will see us through the easy times and the hard days, he does not promise us that we will be emotionally healthy and struggle with our mental thoughts. What God does give us are tools we can use to be in a healthy mental state. And I think it's really important that we learn how to cope with mental health, especially during this pandemic. Here are 3 areas to focus on that can help your mental health. First, your connections. Connections to others are important in life, and perhaps connection with friends, family, loved ones are even more important while we are going through a pandemic. Express how you are feeling and take note of what you're going through and share that with others. Do something kind for someone else and help support others. Second, your physical health. Physical health is important because without our physical health, our mental health will suffer. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Go out and be active. Get some vitamin D. Limit your time in front of a screen. I know it sounds a bit of like a hypocrisy right now. Set aside some intentional time for yourself. And lastly, your mind. Taking care of our mind is really important as it is creating a structure around your regular schedule. Limit the exposure of media. Stay busy and during your free time, find things that bring you joy. Maybe you need to Maria Kondo your entire bedroom. Choose to be thankful and maintain a sense of hope. Set goals for yourself every day, but make sure they are reasonable and recognize that some days are going to be better than others, and that's okay too. Be gracious to yourself. Whether or not you're attending classes virtually or in person, or doing none or some of all of your extracurriculars, or seeing some or none of your friends, life is busy and overwhelming, and it's probably hard to feel anchored in truly anything because of the pandemic. Perhaps you get away from the craziness of life by playing Among Us or watching Netflix or going down a YouTube black hole, obsessing over K-pop and K-dramas, or playing video games. All of this might bring temporary relief and happiness, but all of this disappears really quickly and you're brought right back into your pandemic reality. I wonder how our future selves will answer when God asks us, I turn your world upside down with COVID-19. What do you do to bring about my kingdom? And our answer is, well, I watched every episode of my favorite K-drama, anime, The Office. I watched every movie that was on Netflix. When I started praying in between classes when I was in high school, that really helped me center my time, my relationships, and my purpose on why I'm in school, the blessing of education, and keeping God front of mind in everything I was doing. Now, here is my encouragement to you. Take 2 minutes throughout the day to center yourself on God. So start with a 2-minute prayer before classes start. And in between every class, just take 2 minutes to pray, center yourself on God's purpose for you, and to share any anxieties or feelings that you're having. And close your day with a 2-minute prayer after you're done with school for the day. This is the anchor we need for living with all the demands we have going on around us. Even if we spend intentional time with God in the morning to help set our minds right with the day ahead, within a couple of hours, it can be really easy to forget God, and our mental health can take a downwards turn. Be reminded of God and to communicate with Him throughout the day, and that will go a long way with your mental health during COVID and throughout life. In your small groups, I'd like you to discuss these questions, and you can find these questions down in the description below. How would you describe your mental health pre-COVID? How has your mental health been since COVID? Second, what is the strongest emotion you have felt since COVID? And how have you been dealing with it? Next, how have you opened up with God on the state of your mental and emotional health? Share why or why not you've spoken to God about it. Also, I want you to discuss and to share if you've opened up with others on the state of your own mental and emotional health, and share why or why not you've shared with others. Now, I want you to consider what can you do this Thanksgiving break in terms of the area of relational connection, physical health, and your mind. And lastly, are you willing to stop in the middle of your day to focus on God and His promises and connect with Him? Be specific in how and when you'll do this, and have others in your small group follow up with you and keep you accountable. With Thanksgiving this coming weekend, we won't be meeting on Friday and Sunday. We hope you have a great time resting, hanging out with your family, and reflecting on how you've experienced God's blessings upon you and your family this year, and thanking God for those blessings. Thank you for spending time to consider the state of your mental health. We pray that you'll find your small group, you find Lighthouse is a safe place to share about how you're doing mentally and emotionally, and your relationships with each other will grow deeper and more meaningful as you continue to invest in each other. Look, we care about your whole selves, and this is why we're learning more about how to be more aware of our mental health in light of our faith in COVID. We want you to know that the counselors and I are praying for you, praying for your spiritual health, your mental health, and your emotional health. We miss you all. Now, if you want to catch up on our series, click on the mental health playlist, and we'll see you in the next video.